military hospital ships in waters off the Arabian Peninsula. So that's the reason that
it expects Iraq.
We'll have more of these pictures taken today of a raid of an ammo dump near Kuwait City after the Pentagon briefing. Let's return to that briefing now.
I was talking about the fact that under this new level of presidential call-up authority, reservists could be on active duty for a year, and I'm asked just to remind you that that is a year of consecutive service.
Can you give us any detail on the incident with the frigate and the U.S. Army helicopters and how they managed to capture the platforms that had the Iraqis?
I don't have any more detail beyond what General Johnson told you this morning. Let me just go through a couple of other numbers, and then we'll wrap this up here. Let me just go through these numbers here. What's the number of U.S. aircraft down? 5 U.S. aircraft, 1 U.S. Navy F/A-18 Hornet, 2 U.S. Navy A-6E Intruders, 1 Air Force F-15E Strike Eagle, and 1 Marine Corps OV-10A Bronco. And then, as you know from General Johnson's briefing this morning, 1 F-4G Wild Weasel crashed as the result of mechanical problems. In terms of coalition aircraft shot down, the number is 4, 1 Italian Tornado, 2 British Tornadoes, and 1 Kuwaiti A-4 Skyhawk. In terms of how many Iraqi aircraft have been shot down, the number is 10. 6 were MiG-29 Fulcrums, 3 were F-1 Mirages, and 1 is believed to be a MiG-23 Flogger. I don't have numbers on the others. In terms of U.S. forces in the theater, over 460,000, and rough breakdowns by service. For the Army, 250,000. For the Navy, 75,000. For the Marine Corps, 85,000. And for the Air Force, 50,000. In terms of ships in the theater of operations, the number is over 100. And we usually, those of you who attend these briefings regularly, we usually break these numbers down by specific waters, but we're not going to do that for now. We're just going to give you the total number of ships in theater. Any other? We'll take 1 or 2 more and then need to wrap it up.
You also put out today that Secretary Cheney activated Stage 2 of the Civil Reserve Air Fleet plan. Because of the shutdown of Eastern Airlines, is it possible that all your 181 planes that you now need could be just easily procured just going to the Eastern CEO?
Well, that's an interesting idea. The civilian or the Ready Reserve Air Fleet, the CRAF, like a civilian reserve air fleet, is a deal that we enter into with each major air carrier, and in return for some preferential treatment in government contracting and that kind of thing, they agree to provide us aircraft in the times of emergency. We've simply gone to the next level to get a few more planes. So that we'll continue to follow that way rather than any other novel arrangement.
On the Scud missiles, General Schwarzkopf said yesterday the U.S. had confirmed 6 of the mobile launchers had been destroyed. Have you got an updated number on that?
I don't have any updated numbers on Scuds for you.
Anything about
The current number on that?
On sorties, I believe the right number, didn't General Kelly give you that number already? I think the number is 4,700. That's sorties, total sort. We realize that we've given out some slightly different numbers, so we are now all on the same standard here. Let me just finish the answer. That's total number of sorties flown. It includes bombing missions, combat air support, suppression of enemy air defenses, refueling, that kind of thing.
Can you give us a number?
Let me see. Hold on, Michael. Hold on a second, Michael. Katie had a question here that I interrupted.
Never mind, I got my number.
Okay, go ahead.
Give us the number. When people think of sorties, what we usually think of is planes going to attack Iraqi forces. Now, your larger number counts planes, bringing supplies to air bases, carrying things around. Can you give us the number of actual that represents actual attacks on Iraqi forces?
I'm not sure that gives. Let me see if I can get that number for you. I understand. We've been trying to get that.
There's a report about skirmishes of some sort between Marines and Iraqi troops in Kuwait. Do you have anything on that?
Don't have anything beyond what General Johnson had this morning.
Could you clarify the number of Tomahawk cruise missiles that have been fired?
I don't think that I have that here. I had it just before, but now I see that I'm up here, I don't. I'll get that for you right after the briefing. We've got it. I just don't have it here with me.
So far, the threat to Israel has been just from Scud missiles. What is the level of confidence that, obviously Israel has a vaunted air force, but what is the level of confidence that an Iraqi air raid by aircraft could be repelled before it reached Israeli airspace.
That's hypothetical. I'm not going to speak on the capabilities of the Israeli Air Force. Final question.
Can you take a swing? Are the Scud missiles the only ballistic missiles, medium-range ballistic missiles, been fired in this war?
As far as I know.
The Saudis have not fired their Chinese-made CSS-2 missiles?
Not that I know of.
Pete, what is the number of the missing U.S. Military personnel, missing or dead?
The number of U.S. pilots missing is 9.
What about the attack on the platform?
I don't have the Allied number. Sorry?
The attack on the oil platform that we recaptured. Were there any casualties in that?
There were no U.S. casualties, and I don't know about Iraqi casualties. Okay, the number, thank you, Colonel Monteverdi, the number of cruise missile launches since the beginning of the operation, right?
Yes.
Is 216. Okay? Thank you all.
How many Iraqi POWs?
I'm sorry. This is absolutely the last one. Go ahead.
9 pilots missing,
Yes.
but now there's 2 more planes down from yesterday. Did each of those planes have only 1 crew?
I don't know how that breaks down,
Has
but
anybody been recovered or rescued?
let me check on that. Thank you all very much.
Next briefing, Pete. Next briefing.
That was Pete Williams, the Pentagon spokesman, updating us on the latest situation over here, providing a lot of information. This was probably the most optimistic briefing by any of the U.S. Military planners. Briefing by Lieutenant General Tom Kelly that we just had here. He suggested that the United States, in effect, now does indeed own the skies. He said that the U.S. can achieve air superiority basically at will, even though many of the Iraqi fighter aircraft have moved north to bases further away from the Kuwaiti frontier. Certainly the whole issue of Scud missiles was very much on the minds of these officials who briefed us. The United States has not yet destroyed all of Iraq's mobile Scud missile launchers. Both Defense Secretary Dick Cheney as well as Lieutenant General Kelly a little while ago suggested that the problem still remains a serious problem, especially for Israel, where those Scuds seem to be directed. But General Kelly made it clear that with every day that problem seems to be reduced somewhat. He pointed out that on the first night of the attacks, there were 7 Scuds launched at Israel, 1 towards Saudi Arabia, and last night there were 3. So the assumption is that Scud, the number of mobile Scud launchers is being reduced. For the time being, let's go back to Cheryl Atkinson in Atlanta.
Thank you. Well, stand by, if you will, so that we can bring you back into this conversation in a few minutes. Joining us here at Atlanta is retired U.S. Air Force Major General Perry Smith. He's an expert on air warfare, including those Scud and Patriot missiles. We heard Pentagon spokesman Pete Williams say something pretty interesting, that along with those new Patriot missiles being sent to Israel are U.S. crews to operate them.
This is an enormously powerful statement on the part of the United States to defend Israel. And the first time in the long history of the United States' relationship with Israel, United States forces using United States weapon systems are defending Israel. So this is the big story, and it's an important one, and they're on the scene now. We saw the pictures of them arriving. Here they are here. They're already in Israel setting up. These are operational crews from Europe, and therefore they'll be ready to go right away. And in addition, of course, the Israeli Patriots, they're working hard to get them up. So now we have an opportunity now to defend Israel. That doesn't mean they couldn't get a Scud through, but now it's going to be much tougher.
This may explain why the answer to the question that a lot of people were asking, why weren't the Patriot missiles that were already in Israel used before? Apparently, Israel doesn't have anyone that has completed the training to operate them.
The problem with the Patriot is a very complicated system, and it's a long training program, many months, and they just didn't get it cranked up fast enough, and that was a mistake in retrospect, but now that's been repaired, and the situation's much better. Now, there's another very important point relating to the Scuds, and that is, when Kelly says the skies are clear, that means our surveillance systems, our air surveillance systems, can get in a lot closer and can look much closer at those areas where the Scuds are. So the chances of finding those mobile missiles now and mobile missile launchers is much higher. So we're working the problem on both ends, and it's an optimistic story in both cases.
Tell us what the Patriot missiles do.
They basically go up and intercept either an aircraft or an incoming missile. The magic of the Patriot is the first system ever that can intercept a ballistic missile coming in, a tactical ballistic missile, which is what the Scud is about. It's already been proven. We shot one down in Saudi Arabia. If they shoot again from Iraq, the chances are those Patriots will jump up and intercept those missiles, although there's always a possibility that one or two could get through.
Now, how successful is the Patriot missile in deflecting or actually exploding in the air those Scud missiles that would come over? You said there's still a chance that a Scud missile could come through.
Still a chance that they'd come through. They'd intercept them pretty high in the air, and so and blow them up in the air, way high in the air. So as far as having any real problem of residual problems, there may be some pieces that would come back down, but only an occasional one should get through now, if any. So the situation is dramatically improved over the course of the last few hours.
General Smith, this is Wolf Blitzer at the Pentagon. Quick question that I wanted to ask you. The General Kelly suggested that if he were Saddam Hussein, he would not be very proud of the way his forces have behaved so far. What was the upshot of what he was trying to suggest? What signal was he sending?
Well, we have not seen much aggressive action on the part of the Israeli military. For instance, their Air Force had an opportunity early on to come up and see if they could take us on in the early part of the war, and they did not do that. That's a lack of aggression. We haven't seen any offensive move on their ground forces. And so we don't know whether that's because they're ordered not to do that or because they lack aggressive tendencies, but it's not been an impressive performance.
And General, when he suggests that the bomb damage assessment reports, the BDA, are not yet complete, what exactly, could you walk us through that? What exactly does General Kelly have in mind?
I think specifically he's talking about us going against the sheltered aircraft. We go against the shelters, we get bombs on the shelters and in the shelters, but we can't look inside the shelters to see, one, whether we just destroyed the airplane inside the shelter or whether there was an airplane there at all. So bomb damage assessment is easier on open targets, but very difficult when you're going inside of shelters, and I think that's what he's talking about.
Let's go back to those pictures now that we've just received in, taken from the nose cone of a French Jaguar jet, 30 kilometers south of Kuwait City. It's a raid on an ammunition dump. Can you tell anything from these besides that?
Very important things here. Now, notice how low he is. He is really coming in low, and notice now that his system is tracking that thing, and it is a missile now. It is not a bomb, and you'll see it coming in on the left-hand side. It's being forward moved, and there it hits. And so consequently, and now here I think what you're seeing is the first pictures of cluster bombs, which are used against runways and so forth. Another shot of this thing. Now, notice how close he is taken from the airplane. The French fly very, very low and very fast, and you get a good feeling for the tactics, and the French pilots are marvelous pilots. The British have the same techniques, and those are very good pictures of the kind of contribution that the Allied forces are making to this campaign.
This is the same tape, recycling pictures in slow motion over and over again. Apparently, the jet that shot this video was one of 12 such jets that went out on the mission. The only resistance they got, we are told, is some AK-47 fire from the ground. All the aircraft returned to base except one was slightly damaged. What is the danger to these jets that fly low and fast? What kind of resistance?
The biggest problem they've got there is the small arms and the smaller caliber anti-aircraft artillery. They throw a lot of stuff up, and you're liable to drive through it. The SAM is unlikely to get it. The surface-to-air missile is unlikely to get it. The bigger artillery is not likely to get it. So they'll come home with some holes in them, but usually small holes, and they'll probably make it back, most of them.
We are about to see the slowest shot yet, I'm told, coming up of this missile going into the ammunition site.
Okay, this is probably the slow motion shot. So you see in slow motion, it'll help you pick up the missile as it comes in. And this, I'm a little lost on this particular picture.
It's coming.
Okay.
Hang with it here.
We'll see this in a minute, and it'll come up in slow motion, which will make it a little easier to understand. You'll see, I think you'll see the building in a second. This is a French system, and I'm not all that familiar with it, so I can't give you quite the same description I can with some of the Air Force, U.S. Air Force systems.
Certainly 12 jets going in to accomplish this goal would be able to do a lot of damage to an ammunition dump.
Well, in addition, they spreading those cluster munitions. You saw a lot of flashes. Those are cluster munitions they throw out, and little bomblets go down and do damage across a broad target area.
This tape just came to us, and we haven't had a chance to look at it very much before it hit the air. It's unedited, and that's why it looks a little messy here.
Now, I got to tell you, the pilot's seen a lot more than we're seeing in this particular case. Now, I think this is the one. Okay, here he is going against this big storage building. We've seen this before, but I think now we're going to see it in slow motion. And on the left-hand lower part of the screen, you'll see the missile, which is a forward-firing missile. This is not a glide bomb. This is a forward-firing missile. We have them called Mavericks. I'm not sure which French missile this is, but shortly you'll see it coming in from the left-hand side, about where it says French, and it goes right into the front door of this large storage building.
And how is that being guided?
I'm not sure. Probably electrical optical system.
Okay.
But I'm not sure because I didn't have any information before this tape came in, and I'm not sure of this French system. I think we'll see it coming in now. Just watch where the French sign is. There it goes.
Yeah.
It went very fast. Slow motion one more time, we're going to get to see it. There are the cluster bombs back there, dropped out behind the airplanes, and what they do is they go down and they hit all kinds of things. One more time, we're going to see it coming in from the left-hand side. It moves still pretty fast. Watch right where the French is, and it'll come from left to right. Here it comes. There it is, coming in slowly. You see it, it's going off to the right. That's a forward fire with a warhead on the front nose, and it hits, and we don't see much after that. You notice how close he is. These are very low shots.
Very interesting. Thank you for helping us analyze those pictures that we just have in. Major General Perry Smith, retired U.S. Air Force Major, thanks for joining us. We'll have more information and more on the war coverage right after this break.